Hello, horror fans, and welcome back to Season 6, The Cursed Destinations. We've journeyed through forgotten towns and haunted manors, but tonight we venture into the heart of a village gripped by a 50-year silence, a silence that was shattered just last night. Our destination is a small, weathered church, home to a legend that has just reawakened. This is the story of the abandoned church bell. The bell of San Isidro hasn't rung in half a century. Its toll was a memory, a ghost of a sound whispered by the village elders. But last night, under the cold, indifferent gaze of the moon, it rang. Not once, but 3 distinct, chilling times. The sound wasn't a celebration, it was a summons. It cut through the quiet night, sending a shiver down the spine of every soul who heard it. For those who knew the old stories, this was more than just a sound. It was the awakening of a long-dormant curse, a promise of something terrible to come. The village priest, Father Noel, was a man of logic and faith, not superstition. He had served this parish for 20 years, his gentle presence a comfort to the community. When the first deep, resonant chime echoed from the old stone tower, he sighed, convinced it was the work of mischievous village kids. Teenagers, he thought, always looking for a thrill, playing pranks without understanding the history they were disturbing. He grabbed his old, heavy cassock and a flickering lantern, determined to put a stop to their game before they woke the entire village and stirred up old fears best left buried. The air grew colder as he approached the church. The second bell toll, louder and more insistent this time, vibrated not just in the air, but deep in his bones. It felt wrong. The sound was too perfect, too deliberate for a clumsy prank. He unlocked the heavy oak doors, the creak echoing in the sudden silence. The interior of the church was bathed in moonlight filtering through the high, arched windows, casting long, eerie shadows that danced like specters in the corners of his vision. He began the long, winding climb up the narrow stone steps of the bell tower, his lantern painting a small, shaky circle of light on the damp walls. Each step seemed heavier than the last, the silence between tolls growing thick with an unspoken dread. As he reached the top, his breath caught in his throat. The belfry was empty. There were no kids, no sign of anyone at all. But that wasn't what terrified him. The massive, fraying bell rope was swaying gently, rhythmically, as if an invisible hand had just released it. Then as he stared, it began to move again, pulling taut and dropping with a slow, deliberate grace, all on its own. The third bell rang, a deafening, soul-shaking peal that seemed to shake the very foundations of the tower. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drum against the bell's solemn toll. He clutched the wooden railing, his knuckles white, his logical mind struggling to find an explanation where there was none. Drawn by a horrifying curiosity, Father Noel leaned over the edge of the belfry and looked down into the nave of the church. He expected to see empty pews, just as he had left them. But they weren't empty. Every single row was filled. Shadowy figures, darker than the night itself, knelt in unison, their heads bowed in what looked like solemn prayer. They were featureless, formless voids in the shape of people, a silent congregation of pure darkness. A cold sweat beaded on his forehead. These were not his parishioners. They were not of this world. A primal fear, cold and sharp, seized him. His own faith was his only shield. He closed his eyes, his lips moving in a whispered, desperate prayer. He prayed for deliverance, for protection, for the morning light to banish this unholy sight. But as the Amen left his lips, his prayer was answered not by divine silence, but by the bell. It rang again, a fourth time, louder and more violent than all the rest. It wasn't a chime anymore. It was a shriek of tortured metal, a roar of triumph that echoed his own silent scream. The sound consumed him, swallowing his prayer and his hope, sealing his fate in the cold, haunted dark of the tower. The next morning, the sun rose on a village shrouded in an uneasy quiet. The bell was silent once more. Worried when Father Noel missed the early morning service, a group of villagers went to the church to find him. They found the doors unlocked and an unnerving stillness within. They called his name, their voices echoing in the vast emptiness. There was no answer. Finally, one of them looked up towards the bell tower, following a dreadful intuition. And there he was. The bell of San Isidro was silent, but Father Noel's body was hanging from its rope, swaying gently in the morning breeze, a final horrifying testament to the curse he had tried to defy. Thanks for watching. The world is full of dark places and cursed destinations. If you have the courage to explore more with us, don't forget to follow and subscribe. We'll be back soon with another terrifying tale. Stay safe.